Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
Working with Vijai Singh, just as my book was coming out, he got sent an advanced copy of it and really liked it. He asked me to walk with him in a practice round and kind of see what I had to say. And at the end of the practice round, said, okay, what's the program? And I said, you're the program. I don't have a cookie cutter approach. I want to present the material that's going to be the most helpful for you, and every golfer is individual. And he said, I like to take what you have to say and be able to apply it to myself. I don't want to have to fit into your form. And I said, I don't have one. I have basic principles and ways to help you get out of your own way. So we worked together for about 3 years. He won 2 tournaments that year, 4 the next and 9 the next, and was able to supplant Tiger as number 1 in the world.
Golf Smarter number 300. Yay!
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Well, as you just heard, Dr. Joe, it is episode number 300, and I really appreciate you coming back as being episode number 1 in 2005 and agreeing to come back for episode number 300 of Golf Smarter. Thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure, Fred.
I can't believe that I'm actually doing episode number 300. And the initial thought of this program, and the reason I chose Golf Smarter, was my belief, because I read Zen Golf about a year before this, because I was a new golfer, and I read Zen Golf, and it really resonated with me very deeply. I had this idea that I can interview golf instructors, golf professionals, mental coaches, because from the way I saw golf, that if you had a good mental game and understood strategy, you can lower your scores faster than if you just worked on your swing mechanics.
Well, obviously, I subscribe to that. And, it's important to understand that it's a combination. The mental game isn't just mental. I tell a story in my second book about 2 of my students who went out and tried to play a mental game, so they played imaginary golf and just used imaginary clubs and balls and hit beautiful drives in their imagination, and were tied with birdies and eagles all the way through, and were tied standing in the middle of the 18th fairway. And one said, I think I'm away. I got about 175, a smooth 8-iron for me. I'll just stripe it right up there. And he hit it, and he swung an imaginary club and said, oh, there it goes, it's tracking. It's in the hole. And the other guy said, you lose. He said, how come? He said, you hit my ball. So
I'm going to use that. If I ever get stuck in an elevator, I'm going to start playing imaginary
golf. That's right. So you can't just use your mind, but the key is it's how your mind runs your body, because your mind's involved in every swing. That's why I like to say that golf is 90% mental and 10% mental. and that's because your mind runs every swing that you make. So what we're trying to do is get your mind to run your body in the most effective and most efficient way possible. And you said this to me earlier. The key thing for you was how I describe what I do, which is I help golfers, and I do keynote speaking and help business people. It's performance psychology, but I help people get out of their own way and get the most out of their abilities.
And the more I play this game and the more business that I do, it just affirms itself as being so true every single time. And even have found that the golf course is a great place to test whether I want to do business with somebody, because it exposes their character so well.
Well, that's what, I like the saying that, golf may build character, but it definitely reveals character.
Yeah, so true. So Zen Golf, Zen Putting, and Golf, The Art of the Mental Game. You've been back multiple times to talk about these books, but you have successfully created a trio of books that seem to be some of the most successful golf books ever written.
Well, it's been very, very gratifying. Zen Golf came out in May of 2002, so next year, about 6 months from now, will be our 10th anniversary of Zen Golf being published. What's been very gratifying is on the rankings in Amazon.com, it's been in the top 10 and usually the top 5 continuously for the whole 10 years, which is amazing to me and very gratifying. And the response has been just wonderful. So we're now at about 250,000 copies in print worldwide. We have, besides the U.S. edition, we have a UK edition that goes to, Great Britain and the whole Commonwealth, and also German, Dutch. I think Zen Putting is in French. Both books are in Polish. We just got a request for the rights for Finland, for Finnish. And in the East, it's Japanese, Korean, and Chinese.
Unbelievable. Well, so over the past 6 years that I've been doing this program and talking to a lot of mental coaches, a lot of golf psychologists, and my bookshelf right now has kind of overflowed with really, really effective and good books all about the same topic. Why has yours resonated so well with the golf community?
Well, I think that one thing that I've been told by golfers of all levels is that it's very simple and accessible and easy to understand. And that was one of my missions in writing the book. I wanted to not use fancy psychological language, philosophical language, not even too complicated golf terms, but putting it in as ordinary language as possible. I think that the fact that I use a lot of stories in the book make it easy to remember and easy to understand. People can put themselves in the place of the person in the story, so they can identify with what's going on. I get emails every once in a while saying, okay, I read your book. Were you hiding in the bushes and watching me play? Because it's all about me.
It's so true.
And then I intentionally made the chapters very short, just 2 or 3 pages each, so that people could pick it up, read a little bit, and not look and see that the next chapter is 20 pages and say, I don't have time for that. But, pick it up, put it down. And also, it's not all the way through that you have to start at the beginning and each chapter completely builds on previous ones. You can find a topic and go in and just read that. So I have a lot of people that tell me they've read the book and then they go back and pick out their favorite chapters. Now, what I also did was I recorded all 3 books, so they're available in audio form, in audio download, primarily download. There's still some people getting CDs, but mostly it's through download, through Audible or iTunes or places like that.
Even though this episode is not sponsored by Audible.com, your books are available on Audible.com.
So sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. I don't mind giving them an extra plug.
And I think you can get it through Golf Smarter. I'm not sure. Whatever benefits you as far as click-throughs, you can describe it that way. I know you're editing this. So the other thing is what people are doing. Well, first of all, since I read the books and they hear my voice, they know that I'm saying it in the way that it was meant to be said because I wrote it. And the other thing is that they get to pick the tracks, because I recorded it carefully to have each chapter as a separate track, so they can kind of do their own mixtape of the recordings of just the chapters that connect with them and play 4 or 5 of them on the way to the golf course as a 20-minute kind of prep or pep talk or warm-up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a couple things that you said there. First of all, regarding being available on golfsmarter.com, because Amazon no longer allows for California affiliates, I am not selling it. But what I will do is I will put links to those books on this blog post that's associated the show notes. And so it'll take you right to Amazon. You can still buy those books through here.
And you really asked me why it was also so well received.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the reasons it's so well received is because many of the sports psychology books and sports psychologists will tell you, be in the present, clear your mind, stay focused. The challenge is it doesn't necessarily say how to do that if you're not feeling like you're in the present or have a clear mind or are very focused. So the value in Zen Golf is it gives a path from this is where you are. I'm scattered. I'm thinking about the score at the end of the round. I have all sorts of swing ideas going through my head and mechanics. And what I say is in Zen Golf, it tells you step by step how to recognize those and then undo them and clear the interference so that you don't have an empty mind. The notion of a clear mind isn't accurate. You don't have an empty mind. You have a mind that's clearly reflecting the shot that you want to play, the target that you want to hit to in the here and now. Not in the future, not in the past, not getting ahead of yourself, but playing in the here and now, and how to do that, how to move from distracted to focused.
With people that I play and I get the opportunity to let them know, I'm not going to coach you, I'm not going to tell you anything swing, but I have a thought that you might want to keep in your head about staying away from your scorecard, stay in the moment. But it's true, the hardest part for any amateur golfer, and I have no idea of the pros, but we can ask you because you've worked with so many of them, is the idea of being in the present and staying focused on on the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do pros have that issue as well?
Of course.
Really?
Well, naturally, the score that they finish with doesn't just have to do whether they beat their buddies on the weekend or not. Right. It has to do with their livelihood.
Oh.
And
it's a different kind of pressure.
And their identity as a champion golfer sometimes gets too tied up in the score on a particular hole or a particular round, and it's very challenging for them. What I find is that people come to me and say, boy, it must be great working with the pros, and they have all this great mental game and are so focused. And I want to say, more so than in the past, but their talent is so incredible that many of them play really well despite not so good mental games. And that the mark of the really great champions is that their mental games don't diminish their talent as much as the other pros' mental games diminish their talent. So it's not a question of how good their mental game is, it's how much it takes away from the talent that they bring to the game. It's a very different kind of perspective, but I think very realistic. And in my experience in working with the pros, enabling them they don't need the extra skill of focusing and targeting. It's the other stuff that they've hit so many shots, they know where all the bad places are. And so it's removing the thought of what could go wrong. It's removing the thought of what do I need to do to get to a score on 18 while I'm still on hole number 5. All of these things that let their minds be a little more quiet, a little more at peace, and that's when they play their best. And Jack Nicklaus said this. He said the most important part of his preparation for a major tournament was peace of mind.
Wow. It's a fascinating thought because, we talk about the pros and like, I want to be able to do that. Well, let's not forget that most of these guys have probably been playing all of their lives since they were very young, but they also have been competing since they were very young. and they're very used to the competitive environment at that level, and it's just a different level, but also the reward is so different now. Instead of playing for a trophy and a little bit of recognition, there's a lot of cash that goes with it. So that's a different type of pressure, but it still is in the moment playing, competitive golf, and they're there in that moment. But why are there things that are called like rookie mistakes? Where I think back to 2010 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, Dustin Johnson, this youngster coming up, and he's having 3 great rounds in a row, and then it just all falls apart. And how many times have we seen somebody on Sunday all fall apart?
Rory McIlroy at the Masters.
I mean, we can make a list, and I'm sure there are people listening right now who are just making their own list.
So when you say rookie mistakes, what they're really talking about is not having been through the experience of the amount of pressure and the amount of the volume of thoughts that come up with that kind of situation, and not knowing how to deal with them, not knowing how to handle them. And that was what Rory said was the biggest difference between the disastrous last round at the Masters and a romp at the U.S. Open. And that was understanding, again, not getting ahead of himself, not making too big a deal. I think that the thing with the rookies is excitement. If you look at the last tournament, the Deutsche Bank and Ches Ravi coming into the last hole with the lead, he had a 9-iron into the green on what was playing as the easiest hole relative to par on the golf course. And the rookie mistake was he didn't realize how much adrenaline was going through his system. And he hit that 9-iron well, and he hit it so well that he hit it 10 yards farther than he usually hits it and flew the green. So it's a big part of being an experienced golfer to have that situation not amp you up so much. And if it does, know, hey, I'm pumped up. I can hit a pitching wedge 150 yards because I usually hit it 135, but I'm amped up. And they take that into account in their planning. So I think that's when we talk about rookie mistakes, it's not how they hit the golf ball. It's how they plan their way around the course and how they work with their emotions and the energies that are the juices that are pumping through them.
So it really is, it's just a matter of, it's relative in scale, the pressures that they have versus the pressures that recreational players put on themselves. It's all kind of coming from the same place. It's just, again, relative to scale.
Yeah, ultimately it comes down to the same thing, which is ego. Our egos are on the line. So you have a club golfer trembling over a putt because his ego is at stake, in the same way that a PGA Tour rookie is trembling over a putt for his first win, because basically he sees it's a life-changing experience for him. But either way, it's about ego and how we view ourselves. And that's where the big factor of hope and fear come in. And that's what I talk about a lot in my books, the impact of hope and fear that takes us out of the present moment, takes us out of peace of mind, and gets us very worked up. And I want to share something that people can relate to who are listening. What that kind of stress does for our system is it makes everything move faster, and it also makes everything move up. So you're kind of out of your body and more in your head. Everything's going faster, so your thoughts start racing, and you make bad and rash decisions because of that. Sometimes a thought will come up, I've been fading it all day. I think I'll draw it on this hole. What? Where did that come from? A bright idea. You try to make an inside out swing, but your hands have been holding off to fade it all day, and you slice it out to the right. And you go, what was I thinking? That's a really good question to ask yourself when you have those bright ideas. what was I thinking, but catch it before you do it.
Yeah, how do you do that? That's the next point. Yeah, how do you go?
What am I thinking?
Right.
What am I thinking? Why would I do that now? So the most important thing is to slow everything down with your breathing. Take full breaths and let them out slowly and say, okay, whoa, calm down. Let's not get so excited. Breathe it down. Now, what do we need to do to play this hole properly? Let's not change our game plan. And that's the most important thing you can say to yourself. Let's not change the game plan.
Assuming you have one.
Well, your game plan is, I've been fading the ball. I'm just going to hit fades off the tee today. I'm not going to try anything fancy. Then you're playing well, and around the 8th or 9th hole, you think, well, I've been playing pretty well. This hole kind of sets up for a draw. Let's draw it. Wait, that's not the time to do it. Keep with the game plan. If you decide you want to start playing a draw, work on it on the range. Don't all of a sudden decide you're going to do it. Because what it leads to is a very exaggerated swing, and you either block it or you snap hook it.
Right, and there are some days that you're out there that it's just the ball's just continuing to do the same thing, whether you're trying to do it or not. So
dance with the one that brung you. Just go with it.
Just go with it.
Go with it.
Can you talk about any of the pros that you've worked with? Can you say their names? Is that okay?
Sure.
And then we can kind of
look at them. It's been exciting. I've worked with a number of PGA Tour pros, either for a period of time or on a regular basis, and some just chatting for an hour or two. It was very exciting in I guess it's about 8 or 9 years ago, working with Vijai Singh. Just as my book was coming out, he got sent an advanced copy of it and really liked it. So he asked me to walk with him in a practice round and kind of see what I had to say. And at the end of the practice round, said, okay, what's the program? And I said, you're the program. I don't have a cookie cutter approach. I want to present the material that's going to be the most helpful for you, and every golfer is individual. And he said, I like that. I like to take what you have to say and be able to apply it to myself. I don't want to have to fit into your form. And I said, I don't have one. I have basic principles and ways to help you get out of your own way. So we worked together for about 3 years. He won 2 tournaments that year, 4 the next and 9 the next, and was able to supplant Tiger as number 1 in the world, and the only person in the last decade who did that. The last 3 years, I've been working very regularly with Christy Kerr, and she is a very talented, very tough, and mentally tough golfer. And it's been very, very exciting working with her and helping her. I guess it was late last year, break through to number 1 in the world as well. And she's there in the top 5 and battling it out with Yanni and Suzanne Pedersen and G.I. and I and the other ladies on the LPGA Tour. So it's exciting. We had a big breakthrough last year that she won the LPGA Championship by 12 shots, which was the all-time record. And the cool thing was she had a 6-foot downhill putt on the last hole and did not know it was for the record.
Wow.
And ran it in. And I was so proud watching her because she wasn't thinking about score. She wasn't thinking about anything but staying with the routine that we developed and committing to each shot. And what she said after that tournament was, she said, I realized that, and I think this will be helpful for all level of golfers. She said, I realized that the percentage of shots that I make with full commitment is a direct correlation with my chances of winning the tournament. And the higher my percentage of fully committed shots, the better chance I have of winning. And that week, in those 4 rounds at the LPGA Championship, I only had half a dozen shots in 4 rounds that I was not fully committed to. That's unbelievable. That's outrageously great. Yeah. To have only 1 to 2 shots around that you're not fully committed to, and all the rest full commitment, well, that's why it looked like she was playing a different golf course than everybody else. So and she was playing a different golf course between her ears.
Yeah, and that's a big course. Would you like to say that you can take some of the credit for the success of Vijay and Christy while you're working with them and you see their rise in success level? Are you saying it's coincidence?
I can't say it.
But it's coincidental.
They've acknowledged that it was a big help. And I'm very grateful for their acknowledgement.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it about myself.
Sure. But then about the times like Vijay.
Of course, it's not just me. Obviously, they already brought a tremendous amount of talent to the table.
Right.
You know, they were both already in the top 10, and they wanted to take it that much higher. And it's been, it was great watching Vijay. He has the record now for the most victories of anybody after turning 40. He passed Sam Snead for the number of victories after turning 40.
Right.
So that was, that's a big difference and very exciting. It's just exciting to be part of that whole world of championship golf.
Oh, I bet.
To the level at which they play. But you know what? It's as moving to me when I'm working with a junior golfer and they've been struggling and we finish the session and we go out and play a few holes and they're done and their grin on their face is ear to ear and they say, I get it. It's so much more fun playing this way. Now that, makes a big difference.
Sure. And with junior golfers, I would think it might even be more difficult than working with an adult like Vijay, who, kids are just out there doing it. They don't think about what they're doing, it seems like.
No, not the competitive juniors. They've got so much loaded on them from the parents that are putting pressure on them. They say we're not pressuring them, but in everything they do, they are. For the most part, there are some that are great, but there are many that add a burden of interference, and the peer pressure and all of that. I think it's much harder for the teenagers. There's the hormones are going. There's so many forces going on. It's really, really challenging. But for them to get it and to see a teenager have peace of mind. That's very, very moving. And please understand that was a big part of why I wrote Zen Golf. It's not just golf, it's Zen Golf, which is the tradition of mindful awareness that comes from the East, comes from the Buddhist tradition, and is about finding peace of mind in everyday life and finding that kind of connection with what we think of as the zone and playing in the zone in sports in everything that you do. And it's the most gratifying when people say, your book was really helpful for me in golf, but maybe more helpful for me in my life. And that's what's the most gratifying for me.
Sure. Amazing. It's interesting because early on when I was asking you why it resonated, you said that you don't take a philosophical approach. But
I don't use a lot of philosophical language or psychological language. I try to use simple terms, and I don't take a philosophical approach. I take a practical approach, and that's how I was taught by my Buddhist teachers. That it's not a philosophy; it's a way of being and a way of relating with your body. A way of relating with your speech, a way of relating with your mind, your thoughts and emotions that enable you to be as complete and full and good a person as you can be, and truly get out of your own way and let your capabilities shine. The metaphor that's used in the tradition is it's like the sun behind the clouds. We have the capability of wisdom and compassion, of kindness and love, of clarity and purpose. everyone has that in their hearts. It gets covered up sometimes. And for the most part in our world, it's covered up with aggression and attachment and ignorance. But those are clouds. Those aren't real. They are habits. And the point is, if you clear away the clouds, the sun is already, it's there and ready to shine through. And so that's the message I want to give to everyone and to the golfers that I work with. Don't try to add more on. I call that moron golf. You try to add more on.
I was thinking the same thing.
But just clear away what's in the way. And that's the kind of signature story of Zen Golf, is the boy with a clay statue that his grandfather, this is the short version, that his grandfather reveals to him that he wanted to get it covered in gold, but he didn't need to. He just removed some of the clay and showed that the statue had become covered with clay. Originally, it was a solid gold statue. So you don't need to cover what you have with gold. You just need to remove the clay and reveal the solid gold statue that you possessed all along. And that's our nature. It's that gold. And we have that potential, all of us, within us. So we want to remove the interference and then shape the gold the way we want to be able to perform.
Awesome. What's so interesting about all this is that just those two words, Zen Golf, resonates so well and is maybe just part of the reason of the success, is that it screams out to any golfer out there who thinks they're looking for an edge, and to pull it off the shelf or order it online. But it's definitely worth your effort and time to pick up a copy of any of the three, if not all three, of Zen Golf, Zen Putting, and Golf, The Art of the Mental Game. Dr. Joseph Parent, I can't tell you how honored I am once again to have you back here, and especially to come back for this celebratory episode, and being supportive of us from the very beginning. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome, and congratulations to you, Fred, on doing a great job with bringing this aspect of the game to a much wider audience. And again, congratulations on your 300th episode.